Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me just fine. Welcome to the Mixmax product tour. I am Olaf Mete, the co-founder and CEO of Mixmax. Excited to have you all join today. I am going to do an overview of some recent Mixmax functionality and do a quick overview of the product, and then leave some time for questions. I've planned roughly 20 minutes of demo, and after that, let's save some time for questions. I noticed there are already some questions that came in, which is absolutely great, and you should be able to ask questions in the right-hand side of the Hangouts window, and then I can pick them all up as we go along. So thanks for your questions. Looking forward to that. I will start, we'll do this in a couple of sections. We'll start off first by giving you a quick overview of Mixmax and kind of where functionality lies, and then show you some of the recent features. I am going to dive into a screen share now so we can get straight to it. Just bear with me as I power up the screen share. Let's see here. That screen share should work. I am just going to bring it here. Excellent. I think that works now. Wonderful. So with that, let me just start off and give you a quick overview of where things are with Mixmax. Functionally, that is. So as you know, Mixmax brings superpowers to your email, and it's kind of the ultimate productivity suite for email that just lets you avoid a lot of back and forth by sending emails that are really, really smart and having smart accelerators for some of your most common actions. So Mixmax will upgrade your Gmail Compose window, and it will look like this. I'll do a quick walkthrough of where things lie inside of Mixmax. The first thing here is just, of course, the to field. And if you don't fill in anything, it will send a note to yourself if you want to send reminders. On the right here, you have a templates menu. So if you've created templates, you can bring them in straight away into your email by just clicking one of these. Here's some template I created before about a theater performance for Macbeth. That's where the templates menu lies. The real core of Mixmax lies here in the bottom bar, and there are kind of two rows here of functionality. In the first top row, we have elements that you can add to your message to avoid back and forth and save you time. I'll go through each of these in just a little bit, but here are some of the core elements. You have kind of all of the rich enhancements you can put in your message. You have attachments of different kinds that can even be hosted in the cloud. You have all of the nifty calendaring features, polls and surveys, and of course links. In the very bottom bar here, you see the elements that you can add to the message itself, or that kind of change the state of the message. The first one being read receipts or tracking. You have reminders, and you also have send later. I'll go into these in just a bit, but that's kind of the core of the Mixmax Compose window. The other big part of Mixmax is the dashboard, which you find under drafts on the left. If you click on any of these, you can access other functionality of Mixmax. So here, for example, if you've scheduled emails to be sent later via send later, they'll show up here. If you have templates, they will show up here in this view, and you can edit them. You can also share templates with your team on the right-hand side. So if I want, I can go ahead and share a template here with myself at a different email address. You'll see all the polls that you've sent out previously. You can set up multiple different kinds of signatures, and even if you have multiple accounts, you'll see signatures for all of your different accounts. And last here, perhaps, you have the settings page. I really recommend you to look into the settings page because we all have our own preferences when it comes to how we communicate over email. And you can change a lot to really customize the product to fit your needs, such as changing what the overall theme color is for Mixmax, or just changing the type of font that you want to use by default, whether you want to have undo send to take back messages, or whether you want to, have emoticons automatically convert to emojis or get gorgeous visual previews for links. So the dashboard's a really core part of Mixmax. You can really customize it to the way you like to work. So that's kind of the overall setup of Mixmax, the two core components, the dashboard itself that we see here, and then of course the message window in and by itself, which is an upgraded message window that really lets you send smart messages. So with that, let me dive into some of these kind of smart features that we spoke about earlier. Actually, I'm going to go back and just kind of highlight just how the features in the bottom bar work here. So the first one being email tracking. So being able to see when someone has read your email really helps you in a couple of ways. First of all, it lets you know, well, it saves you that email, hey, did you read my email? Because you know if they had. And it also is a really helpful gauge to see how interested and engaged a recipient is with what you sent them. So if you choose to track an email, you will get read receipts. And the read receipts are visible in your sent folder and will look like this with a little lightning bolt icon. So you can see here that Daniel read my message twice. It was first read 23 minutes after I sent it, and my email was read, as I mentioned, 2 times. This kind of granular view is very, very unique to Mixmax, and we're the only productivity tool that will actually tell you who exactly read your email, even within a group. So that's the nuts and bolts of email tracking. Let's go back there. Another nice feature that will save you a lot of time is reminders. So you can set reminders, which will basically put an email back in your inbox if you haven't received a reply or if someone hasn't read your email. You can also choose to just set a reminder as a default so it always shows up. Here I'm going to set one to have a reminder show up in 2 days if no one responds. And I can easily just toggle this on and off by clicking on the Remind Me icon. With reminders, you can make sure that you never lose track of an important conversation. Obviously a huge time saver, so you don't have to keep track of it elsewhere because Mixmax automatically keeps track of it for you. The other feature down here is send this email later. So send later is great if you're working late at night and don't want anyone to know that you're working late at night, or you want to send emails that arrive at a time when your recipients are most likely to read them. So you can choose a specific time. I can choose 8 a.m. In this case, it will be set for 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Or, use some of the automatic presets here. So this is incredibly helpful because it increases the read rate of your email. And it's just much more convenient for your recipients because everyone kind of suffers from inbox overload. And in this context, they'll receive the email right when they need it. So those are some of the core time-saving features here in the bottom bar. Let me go up and show you some of these kind of message enhancements. And let's go through them one by one, actually. I thought it would be helpful perhaps to start with some of the calendaring functionality, since there were a couple of questions on that earlier. I'll go in and start with share availability. This is incredibly helpful when you are trying to set up time to meet someone. So instead of sending 15 emails back and forth to agree on the time, you can just share your availability by firing up your calendar. And here's the view of my calendar, and I can simply drag a time slot here, and it will automatically chunk that time slot based on the default length that I set in the top right for the meeting. Here I can set this information related to the meeting. Here, meeting with Olaf Mate. It also remembers previous meeting names that you used that you can select from, and will actually autocomplete. So here at some point there was a sourdough pancake brunch on my personal accounts here, or tennis. And likewise for location, it will remember common addresses that you typed in. Another nice feature here is we actually automatically prevent double bookings. So when you share your availability, you don't have to worry about a previous time getting booked. Now, there was a question around seeing multiple calendars. And I thought I'd just show you how you can both see multiple calendars and how you can book on multiple calendars using this feature. So as you can see already, I'm viewing multiple calendars. You can view multiple calendars by going up here in this drop-down menu. And here I've chosen to see my Mixmax address as well, so I can see these items in my calendar. And obviously here you have to set your Google Calendar permissions such that you have access to this calendar in the first place. Now, if I want to, when I'm sharing my availability, I can choose to share availability on one of these shared calendars. So here I'm choosing to share it on, this was an old apartment building I was in, so the calendar of the apartment building. This is really helpful if you're scheduling time for one of your teammates, or perhaps if you're interviewing a candidate and want to spend some time. What's beautiful about this is once I click Insert Availability, it will automatically insert times directly in the message. And when a recipient clicks on the time, the meeting will be automatically set up. Now, you notice there was a little pop-up there that alerted me that there's actually a keyboard shortcut to trigger this same app, and it said /cal. So let's see what happens if I type /. So if I type / in a message, I'll get a little accelerator menu for a lot of these message enhancements, and I encourage you to explore it on your own. But in this case, it's led /cal. So here I see /cal, and I can just tab through this, launch the calendar again. So very, very helpful in the context where you're kind of dependent on just using the keyboard and you don't want to have to click around to launch the same app. So that's how sharing your availability works. This is great for one-on-one meetings. Now, very often we try to set up meetings with a number of people working in different organizations where everyone has to kind of indicate their availability. And for that, we have a different solution, which is the Mixmax group event poll. So here, if I want, I can go in and select a group event. And this is incredibly great if you're, say, scheduling a team event or trying to coordinate a meeting across multiple departments in your company. Say you're trying to inquire about when your team's available for a team offsite. And perhaps that's going to take place in Lake, Tahoe. Do that in that vacation home. Let's ask people if they're available on a couple of Wednesdays here. And this is an all-day event, so I won't indicate a precise time, but otherwise you could have done that there. And now, if I insert these times in the message, recipients will be able to click and just indicate when they're available directly in the message. Just a second. You're right to me. Sorry about that. And let's see here. Just want to make sure we're all set up. Okay, so here recipients can, just going to delete those incoming messages there. When recipients receive an email, they can just click here to indicate when they are available for this team offsite. And once you've tallied up votes, the votes will actually show in real time here. So you can see, anyone can see directly inside of the email what the winning date is. And once you're ready, you'll just be able to schedule the meeting there. So this again avoids this kind of interminably long email chain of people trying to indicate when they're available. You can propose some times and have people vote on it straight there in the message. And if you want to change something before you send, just go to this little pencil icon that is in the top right corner and click it, and you'll get the same data back, say if you made a little mistake. Team offsite to celebrate new hire, for example, is what you want as a title. There you go. Now, of course, this group event poll also has a keyboard shortcut called group, and you can bring it up then and there just with that shortcut. So those are how two of those calendaring accelerators work. Now let's look at one more here. With Mixmax, you can send out polls and surveys either externally or internally. I'm gonna delete that one as well just to not bother the view. Let's do like that instead. You can set up polls and surveys to get structured replies from people, which is Really great if you're trying to tally up responses for something or want to make it really easy for your recipient to respond. So there are a bunch of different polls and surveys. The poll, the yes, no, and the QA survey, and of course the group event poll that we just saw. So I'll go in here and do just a poll, which actually, of course, you can just trigger by typing /poll. So here, if you want to buy t-shirts for your team, what's your t-shirt size? Small, medium, large, extra large. You can send this out to your team and get a structured set of replies that you can then see later on in your dashboard, as we saw, where you'll be able to see what people have voted. And here again, of course, you can change the options here by hovering over the little pencil icon. I encourage you to explore all the full set of enhancements and rich media that exist in Mixmax. I showed you kind of some of the calendaring, some of the surveys, but there's much, much more. You can insert PDF slideshows, tables, formatted code, which is useful if you're kind of a sales engineer, animated GIFs, time expiring secret messages, and much, much more. So do have a look at that. Great. With that, let me show you two more last features, and then let's pause the overall demo and I'll go into some questions. We just had a look at some of the accelerators around /commands here. Well, what's really nice is there's much more hidden goodness here. So if you want to around /commands, you can type maps and then a specific address. So for example, I can type Ferry Building and it'll dynamically pick addresses from Google Maps. You can see, yes, Ferry Building Marketplace, that's the address where I want to meet someone, and it'll automatically plop in the map. So great if you're trying to meet someone and want to provide directions to them so they don't have to click out, but can see a dynamic preview of the map directly in their email. Another version of this is if you want to share your excitement or just liven up your email with an animated GIF, say you're excited about someone joining the team, and you want to share an animated GIF, you can just type /G and a search term for it. So we have a couple of words, and let's see, that animated GIF looks perfect for this purpose. So boom. Really, really easy, very, very fun to actually, of course, to see what GIFs come up in the live search. So there's a lot there with /commands that I encourage you to explore. Last on the commands, of course, full emoji support here, which is something that, of course, we kind of expect from any messaging product today, but for some reason has been lacking in email for a long time. So encourage you to check that out. And of course, it will autocomplete nicely here, as you can see as well. So those are some really nice accelerators. Last thing to show that we launched recently was accelerators for templates. So once I type /T, I'll get a little view of all my templates. And here I can just input the Macbeth template where I'm asking when people are around to be able to go see this play. Again, /T, and I'll get my list of templates there. If I want to, I can also go into this menu and just choose a template from the top. So that's with templates. And I think I showed you as well how from the dashboard you can go in and share templates with your team, so you get a full view of that. Great. Let's see if there are any questions. Let's see if I am. Nice. I'm just going through and scanning some of the questions here. And let's see, I think there are also some questions in the side view here. Just bear with me a second while I bring that up. And yes, I see for next time I should probably do a screen resolution that's a little bit bigger to see so you can see better. Thanks for that feedback. So let's go into the questions here. We had a couple from Lisa and from Lee. So firstly, just Lee's question because it's really fast. See if this came up and showed. Lead asked, will this be recorded and available later? The answer is yes, it will be available on the same URL that you're on. So it'll be easy for you to dive in at a later date. So I'm going to click done answering on that one. Then we had a couple of questions from Lisa. So Lisa was wondering here, I'd like to understand which calendars can be seed with a free versus paid subscription. I have several calendars that I own and share with others. Do I need to be a paid subscriber to see all of them? I can only see one right now. So let me show you how that works, because that's a, I'll get to your question in just a bit, Lysandra. I just saw that as well. Answer that emoji question. On and rocket. Got it. But back to your question, Lisa, around different calendars. So let's bring up the calendaring or sharing your availability here. You can see on the screen. So if you have several calendars that you own and share with others, so seeing calendaring, seeing what is on different calendars is on all tiers. So you can see I have a number of calendars, or actually this email account has access to view a number of calendars. So I can just turn these on and off as I want, just like you would in any calendaring product. And that way you can see what is on different calendars. Of course, to enable that, you have to go to the respective Google Calendar. So here, before I had gone to olaf@mixmax.com, I went into that calendar and decided to share it with this, my personal Gmail account, so I could see when I'm free and busy. Now, if you want to send availability on another calendar or share it with another user, that is part of a paid tier. So that's part of the overall business package and is part of the professional tier, which lets you here schedule or send availability on shared calendars. So typical use case for this is, an EA working with an executive or a teammate trying to set up an interview for a candidate and for between a candidate and a colleague. So in this case, I might be sending my co-founder Brad's availability to a candidate and would just say, hey, I'm going to share this on, Brad's calendar here. And that way, when the recipient clicks a time in the email, even though the email came from me, it will set it up on Brad's calendar and the candidate's calendar. And that feature is paid. But this feature to view your calendars, of course, is entirely free. Hope that helped. Do ask again, Lisa, if not. Okay, let's see, we had another question on emojis, which came from Lysandro, I believe. So, oops, let me get Gmail back. Yeah, for emojis, you just use the command : to get a picker of emojis. And then you can just either click on one to plop it in, or you can just type : and something else, and it'll auto-select for you. And that way, knock yourself out with emojis. Hope that helped, Lysandra. Great, and good to hear, Lisa, that I was able to answer your question. Excellent. Another question from you, Lisa. I'll start answering that. I sometimes send work emails from my Gmail account. My firm is worried about security. Does using Mixmax increase the chance that my emails are being read, potentially going to be hacked? So let me answer that question. So yeah, Mixmax is 100% secure, and obviously that's absolutely paramount to us. I would say there are a couple of big differences between Mixmax and other email products. And the big difference is we don't actually scan or read the contents of your inbox like other email products do. The other big difference is that we don't actually ask for your email password. So a lot of mobile email clients actually ask you to give your password into the app, which is obviously not very secure. Mixmax doesn't do this, so you authenticate into Mixmax with OAuth, which means that you can revoke access at any time, which makes it much more secure. The other big thing, which was the first thing I mentioned, is that we don't index or scan the contents of your inbox. So that's obviously a huge difference. What we do, however, is we make it possible for you to send email that's incredibly powerful and incredibly smart. And we give you a lot of accelerators in the Mixmax compose window to type messages that are much better, richer, smarter, etc. That avoid back and forth. And just a last note on that, Mixmax is actually predominantly used for people at work. So roughly 3/4 of users and customers use us for work just because that's where they do most of their emailing. So it's really an incredibly powerful product in that context. And I'm happy to dive in more, and if there's anyone at your firm you'd like to put me in touch with, at least I'm happy to have a chat with them to assuage any concerns they have. And hope that helped. I'm going to click done answering on that and go on to the next. So Lissandro, another question, do you intend to translate Mixmax to another language? So Lissandro, the answer is yes, we do intend to translate it to other languages. I'm guessing from your name that your native language is Portuguese. So perhaps we'll reach out to you once we start doing a Portuguese version to get a little bit of help with that. But yes, we do plan to do what's called localized or internationalized versions of Mixmax for different languages. So would love to stay in touch on that. And hopefully we'll have that ready within a couple of months. But thanks for dealing with the English language version. I grew up in Sweden personally, so I know from that obviously people like to use products in their own language. Then answering that, answer a question from Roman Segura here. What about spam filters on other companies? Is there a chance for our email to get into a spam folder since it contains many other things than just the email? So I will answer that. So Roman, yes, well, the short answer to that is there's actually not an increased risk of that. And the big reason for that is that emails you send with Mixmax, they're actually just sent through Gmail using the Gmail API, just like you would with any other, just like you would in normal Gmail. So since these emails are just coming from you, they're no more or less likely to end up in spam. And yeah, that's basically the short answer on that. Hope that helps. The big thing there is spammers often try to pretend to be someone else, and of course here you're just sending email through Mixmax, or sorry, through Mixmax just sends through Gmail, so you can rest assured that there's no increased risk of spam. Hope that helped. And now let's see, we had one last question here from Lisa. Great to hear from you again, Lisa. You mentioned multiple email accounts. Do they all have to be Gmail accounts, or can I add Mixmax to other addresses? So here, Lisa, I'd love to hear a little bit more from you. So firstly, Mixmax works with multiple email accounts, and if you've set up your Gmail to have multiple email accounts, they will show up in settings for you. And let's see if I can find here accounts. They would show up here. It's probably a little bit hard to see, but there's a setting in Gmail where you can add multiple email addresses to your Gmail. any email address you have added to your Gmail can also be used with Mixmax, and you would just click the import add email addresses to Mixmax. And when you do that, they'll just show up here as you'll be able to toggle between different from addresses. And these addresses that you hook into Gmail, they don't all need to be Gmail addresses per se, but you can set up non-Gmail addresses as well. As for Mixmax, Mixmax is currently, you do need to be on Chrome and use Gmail to leverage the powers of Mixmax as is. But you can hook up any email address to Gmail, which is a very nice feature, and then that will work seamlessly within Mixmax. Hope that helped. Let's close that question. And let's see, there are no more questions there, but if I go to the chat room, let's see. Lisa, no, it was great that you had all those questions. Exactly. Yes, as long as you get messages through your Gmail client, you can use all of the Mixmax options. Yes, that's the case. Great, let's see if there were other questions. Sorry for seeing that Zoom part a little bit late. Excellent. So with that, I think that kind of concludes the brief product tour, unless there were any other questions. Thanks for attending, and as always, feel free to send us questions, suggestions, or feedback at hello@mixmax.com. So with that, let's see what we get here on a thank you GIF. I'll do, oh, it's a little bit granular, but thank you all for attending, and I hope Mixmax continues to make you more productive. Thank you.